This homeless dog was crying for help. Then a miracle happened. A cold wind sliced through the deserted alley, stirring torn newspapers and discarded wrappers like restless ghosts. Beneath a flickering streetlight, a small figure huddled against a wall, its frail body trembling with exhaustion and fear. The moment I laid eyes on that dog, its matted fur plastered against thin, shivering ribs, its eyes brimming with a silent plea, I felt something twist deep inside my chest. I had never intended to walk down this alley. I was running late, rushing home, anxious about tomorrow's deadlines. But there was something about the sound that had drifted on that breeze. It was soft, faint, and heartbreakingly desperate. It was the sound of a cry, but not a human cry. A lonely, sorrowful whimper as though every last hope in the world was clinging to that single note. In that moment, I knew I could not keep walking. Some inexorable force tugged at my soul, compelling me to follow that pitiful noise into the shadows. The source of the cry sat motionless, a homeless dog with muddy paws stretched before it. Ragged ears twitched nervously, as though expecting the world to pounce at any second. When our eyes met, I saw a flicker of hope overshadowed by caution. I hesitated, my heart pounding as I took one step closer. Every rational thought in my head told me I had no time for this. I was busy. I had so many obligations, so many tasks piled up in my life that I was already behind on. But I couldn't just leave. I knelt on the damp asphalt, ignoring the cold seep of water through my jeans, and whispered, "Hey there. It's all right. I won't hurt you." The dog blinked, uncertain but too weak to move away. I took off my scarf and extended it with trembling hands, hoping the dog might see it as some form of comfort. The dog sniffed it, wincing at a new gust of wind that rattled the streetlight overhead. I noticed something else then. A raw wound at the animal's flank. It looked infected, the fur around it matted with dried blood and pus. Without care, this dog wouldn't last much longer. My throat tightened. Something bigger than me was happening here. Something that demanded not just attention, but immediate action. I slid the scarf gently underneath the dog's body, trying to see if I could wrap it. The poor creature whined at the contact, but it didn't resist. Maybe it was too weak to fight, or maybe it recognized at some primal level that I was trying to help. My mind whirled, thinking of my car parked too many blocks away, the nearest vet clinic possibly closed at this late hour, my empty wallet that had only a few bills left after all my own expenses. None of that mattered now. This dog's life was on a razor's edge, crying out for help in the quiet darkness. And somehow, beyond all logic, I felt responsible. I slid my arms under the shivering body. Carefully lifting the dog against my chest, I discovered it weighed almost nothing, as though it had been starved for who knew how long. The dog's muzzle rested against my shoulder, and I felt a faint heartbeat. There was so much trust in that one moment, a silent surrender to my care, that tears stung my eyes. I whispered reassuring words, not even sure what I was saying, just that I was sorry for the cruelty this life had dealt. Sorry that I had been too busy to notice before. Sorry that it had reached this dire point before someone stepped in. Struggling to keep the dog close to my body for warmth, I hurried down the sidewalk. A few passing cars sent bursts of light and noise across the otherwise silent road. I half expected someone to roll down a window and ask what was wrong, but no one did. In some ways, maybe it was just as well. My mind was already racing with the next steps. Find a 24-hour veterinary hospital, figure out how to pay for it, call out of work if necessary. Nothing else mattered now. The dog's every ragged breath was a countdown, and I refused to let it end there in my arms without a fight. When at last I reached my battered old sedan, I opened the passenger door and gently set the dog on the seat. It whimpered when I stepped away. I pulled off my jacket and arranged it as best I could, determined to make a nest for warmth and comfort. As I slid behind the wheel, I could see the dog's anxious eyes follow me. "It's going to be okay," I whispered, more to myself than to the dog. The engine sputtered to life, and we lurched onto the road, heading for the only emergency vet clinic I knew of, a place I had driven past numerous times but never visited. The city lights became a blur as adrenaline fueled my determination. Every red light felt like an eternity. The dog's breathing was shallow, its nose dry and cracked. I kept talking, hoping my voice would keep it anchored to life just a bit longer. Finally, the neon sign of the clinic came into view. I whipped into the parking lot, my tires skidding on loose gravel. My chest tightened. Please let me be in time, I thought, my heart pounding in my ears. Inside, the sterile white walls and fluorescent lights reflected my fear back at me. A receptionist looked up from behind a tall counter. She took in the dog in my arms, my frantic expression, and immediately waved us back to an exam room. Before I could catch my breath, a veterinarian in green scrubs appeared, stethoscope around her neck, concern etched into her features. "Set the dog here," she instructed, pointing to a steel examination table. "We'll do everything we can." I laid the dog down carefully, my scarf now stained with blood and grime. The vet began examining the wound, taking the dog's vitals, calling out instructions to a tech who hurried to prepare medication. The dog whimpered, and I bit my lip to keep from crying. It wasn't just the physical wound that worried me, but how emaciated and dehydrated the dog was. The vet glanced at me gravely. "This little one's got a long road ahead. Infection, severe malnutrition, possible internal issues. We'll need to run tests." I nodded, my voice shaking. "Do whatever you have to, I'll find a way to pay." She offered a faint smile, then got to work. I stepped back, my heart in my throat, feeling both helpless and determined. As I waited, leaning against a wall in the stark exam room, the minutes felt like hours. My mind flickered with images, the dog lying alone in that alley, crying out for help. The monstrous thought of what might have happened if I hadn't heard that soft whine, or if I had ignored it. Eventually, the vet turned to me, removing her gloves. "We've cleaned the wound and started intravenous fluids. We'll need to keep the dog overnight at least. I can't promise anything yet, but we'll do our best. Your dog will need a name for our records." My dog. The phrase made my chest tighten in a strange mix of fear and warmth. "Rookie," I said impulsively, remembering a stray baseball card on my desk at home. Something about the word felt hopeful, like a new beginning. "Let's call him Rookie." The vet nodded. "All right, Rookie it is. We'll start him on antibiotics and closely monitor. If you can leave a contact number, we'll call with any updates." I provided my details. As I scribbled my phone number on the intake form, I realized how surreal this was. My entire evening had flipped on its head. By the time I left the clinic, dawn was breaking over the horizon. The sky was streaked with pale pink, the kind of color that usually inspires thoughts of a fresh start. But all I could think about was whether Rookie would survive to see another sunrise. I hardly slept that morning. I drifted in and out of anxious dreams, half-awake nightmares of losing him. Each time I opened my eyes, I checked my phone, expecting the worst. When it finally buzzed, my heart nearly stopped. The clinic was calling. My hand shook as I swiped to answer. "Hello," my voice was a hushed plea. "This is Doctor." From the animal hospital came a steady voice. "Rookie made it through the night. That's good news, but we'll need to keep him longer for observation and to check for any internal injuries." Relief flooded me, so potent it made me dizzy. "Thank you," I murmured. "Thank you so much." Over the next few days, I rearranged my life to visit Rookie as often as possible. Money grew tight, more than tight if I was honest. Yet the thought of leaving him without treatment was unthinkable. The first time I saw him after that night, he was still lying on his side in a small kennel, an IV in his foreleg. His eyes flicked toward me. I saw recognition there, but also exhaustion. Doctor explained that he might still be wary, that the trauma he endured on the streets wasn't merely physical. "Dogs remember," she said gently. "They remember the people who hurt them, the cold nights, the endless hunger. But they also remember kindness." So I spoke softly, letting Rookie sense my presence. I told him about my day, about the sunshine outside, about how I believed in him. It felt ridiculous, talking this way to a dog, but it was all I could give him at that moment. And in the small wag of his tail that followed, I saw the tiniest spark of hope. By the end of the week, Dr. reported that the infection had begun to subside, thanks to the antibiotics. The wound at his flank needed daily cleaning, but it was healing better than she had expected. "He's tough," she said with a small, admiring smile. "He's a survivor." A lump formed in my throat. I thought of the countless strays who don't get a second chance. The heartbreak of thousands of animals abandoned, many never rescued. Rookie's narrow escape felt like both a blessing and a reminder. A reminder that we can't always turn away when we see suffering. When the clinic finally cleared him for release, almost 2 weeks after that fateful night, I felt like I was carrying home a delicate treasure, terrified something would break. Rookie was by no means fully recovered. His still showed starkly through his patchy fur, and the wound on his side had a row of stitches that needed vigilant care. But he no longer looked like a ghost. There was a spark in his eyes and a slight wag in his tail that hinted at the dog he might once have been, or could become. I had never owned a pet in my adult life. My schedule was insane, my apartment small, my finances unpredictable. Yet everything in me insisted this was right. I brought Rookie home, set him on a plush blanket in the living room, and watched him sniff cautiously at every corner. He seemed anxious, as if waiting for someone to strike him or for the floor to crumble beneath his feet. I sat down at the far end of the room, letting him choose whether to approach. He studied me for a few moments, then limped toward me on shaky legs. When his nose pressed against my hand, I smiled through tears I didn't even realize were falling. Caring for him became my central focus. I set alarms to administer his medication on time. I hand-fed him broth-soaked kibble, coaxing his appetite to grow stronger. His trust was slow to form, but every day he inched a bit closer emotionally. Sometimes I'd wake at night to find him curled at the foot of my bed, watching me with solemn eyes as though he was silently saying, "I'm still here. Thank you for not giving up on me." Weeks passed and each day brought small miracles. His coat gradually regained a soft sheen where new fur grew in. His stitches came out, leaving only a faint scar. His appetite grew, his energy returned, and that once trembling gait turned into a determined trot around the living room. One afternoon, I found him tentatively nudging a squeaky toy I'd left on the floor, testing it with gentle bites, only to leap back in startled surprise whenever it squeaked. I laughed so hard I cried. It was the first time I had truly heard him play. I wish I could say life was smooth from then on, but caring for a sick, traumatized dog was expensive and time-consuming. My boss questioned my frequent absences. My friends teased me about being tied down by just a stray. And my landlord raised an eyebrow when he realized I had a dog in the apartment. But each time I worried I was in over my head, I'd remember the way Rookie looked at me in that alley. The fear, the desperation, the flicker of hope. I couldn't betray that hope. Then came a day that tested us both in ways I never saw coming. It began like any other, morning meds, a quick walk, and leaving Rookie in the apartment while I headed off to work. By then, he'd adjusted fairly well to being alone for a few hours, but something felt off that morning. Rookie seemed restless, pacing near the window, whining softly whenever I turned to the door. I tried to calm him with a treat, a few kind words, and a pat on the head. "I'll be back soon," I promised, not fully realizing how ominous those words might sound to a dog who had been abandoned before. Midway through my workday, the sky unleashed a torrential downpour. Rain hammered against the windows of my office, thunder growling in the distance. My phone vibrated on my desk and I glanced at it. It was the property manager from my apartment building. Why would he be calling in the middle of the day? A surge of dread coursed through me as I answered. "There's been an issue with your unit," he said quickly. "Some kind of electrical short during the storm. It looks like a fire might have started in the wall." The fire department is here, but... I didn't wait to hear more. My breath seized. Rookie was at home. My stomach lurched as I grabbed my things and sprinted out of the office. The drive felt endless, every red light a fresh wave of panic. Rain blurred my vision, and the roar of thunder set my heart pounding. I kept imagining Rookie trapped in smoke, terrified, no way to escape. Tears mixed with sweat on my face as I gripped the steering wheel, silently begging the universe to keep him safe. By the time I arrived, the street was blocked by a fire engine, lights flashing violently in the downpour. Smoke billowed from the upper floors of my building. My heart threatened to rip out of my chest as I forced my car onto the curb and jumped out, ignoring calls from a firefighter to stay back. The choking scent of burning insulation and drenched ash filled the air. "Please," I gasped, stumbling toward the building. "My dog, he's inside." One of the firefighters caught my arm as I tried to push through. "We evacuated all residents we could find," he said. "No sign of anyone else but animals. If your dog's still in there, we need to handle it." Black plumes of smoke poured out of a second-floor window, and I realized with horror that it was my apartment. I could barely stand, panic coiling in my stomach. The fire crew was already inside with hoses, the sound of water pounding against flames an eerie counterpoint to the rain pounding outside. Minutes stretched like hours as I stood helplessly in the chaos, pinned behind the caution tape by the firefighter's orders. I called out Rookie's name, though I knew he wouldn't hear me above the roar of the fire. Then I saw a figure emerge from the haze in the doorway, a firefighter, face blackened with soot, carrying a limp shape in his arms. My eyes locked onto the shape, and I recognized the outline of a dog's tail. I tore free from the hold of another firefighter and raced over as they laid Rookie on the wet grass. My mind felt suspended in disbelief as I dropped to my knees. Rookie wasn't moving. Soot covered his muzzle, his whiskers singed. I bent over him in desperation. "Rookie," I choked out, brushing my hand along his flank. No response. His eyes were shut, body limp. I heard the firefighter say something about smoke inhalation, lack of oxygen. Another said they had an oxygen mask designed for pets in the truck. Everything spun in a surreal blur of despair as I cradled Rookie, tears streaming down my face, mixing with the rain and ash. Time blurred. I vaguely registered someone pressing a small oxygen mask against Rookie's snout. I clung to his paw, pleading silently for him to breathe, to wake. My mind replayed that first moment I saw him in the alley, how fragile he'd been, and how bravely he had fought to survive. This couldn't be the end. Not now. Not after everything we'd endured together. Then through the chaos and the howling wind, I felt his chest rise. A gentle, slight lift, but unmistakable. My breath caught in my throat. The firefighter giving him oxygen noticed it too and urged me to keep talking to keep him anchored. I stammered out nonsense, reassurances, his name, half-formed prayers. Slowly, Rookie coughed. It was a small sound, but it made my heart thunder with renewed hope. Another cough and he stirred. His eyelids flickered. The flames and smoke behind us felt like background static compared to that single miracle. He was alive. I sobbed openly, relief crashing over me. The firefighters carefully lifted him onto a stretcher, preparing to transport him to an emergency vet for further checkups. As I followed the ambulance that carried Rookie, my apartment burning behind us, I couldn't suppress the swirl of intense emotion. The fear of nearly losing him, the overwhelming gratitude for his survival, the heartbreak of losing what few possessions I had. But none of that mattered next to the fact that Rookie was breathing. I pulled into the vet hospital parking lot, drenched from head to toe, ignoring the reality that I had nowhere to go back to once this was over. I sprinted inside and found them rushing him into an exam area. I paced the waiting room as they checked his lungs for damage, administered treatments for smoke inhalation, and cleaned minor burns from hot debris. My thoughts were a cacophony. Where would we stay tonight? How would I afford even more medical bills for him? Why did this have to happen after everything we'd already been through? Yet overriding all of it was the desperate, resounding plea. Let him be okay. A nurse emerged after what felt like hours. Rookie's stable, she said quietly. He's still weak and we'll keep him here for observation, but he's a fighter. I slumped into a chair, relief coursing through me. Tears burned at the corners of my eyes. The nurse gently patted my shoulder. We'll do all we can. The next few days were a struggle. I had no home to return to. The building was deemed unsafe, requiring extensive repairs. My minimal insurance coverage wasn't enough to salvage much. I found a cheap motel that accepted pets, thanks to a sympathetic manager who offered me a discount after hearing what happened. I juggled calls to the insurance company, the landlord, my workplace, and spent every spare moment at Rookie's side in the vet hospital. The reality sank in that my life had just exploded in more ways than one. Friends offered couches, but none that could accommodate a dog recovering from smoke inhalation. My boss was far from understanding this time. I'd already taken so many days off for Rookie's previous treatments. One sleepless night, as I sat in the motel with the faint smell of stale cigarettes, I wondered if I'd made a mistake in taking on so much responsibility. But each time I considered that, I'd recall the sensation of holding Rookie's trembling body in the alley, or the trust I saw in his eyes every time he mustered the energy to look at me. There was no turning back. Not now, not ever. Despite the dire circumstances, something miraculous began to unfold in the background. Word of Rookie's story spread, starting with the firefighters who had rescued him. One of them, moved by the dog's will to survive, posted on social media about the rescue. A local newspaper picked up the story, then a local TV station. Before I knew it, the tale of the homeless dog rescued twice, once from the streets, once from a fire, was circulating, captivating hearts. Strangers reached out, wanting to help, wanting to donate toward Rookie's recovery. Initially, I felt conflicted. Accepting help from strangers felt vulnerable. But as the vet bills soared and the reality of my own financial devastation sank in, I realized I had little choice. A fundraiser was started online, and donations, sometimes just a few dollars, sometimes 100, began to roll in from people I'd never met. Words of support poured through comments, messages, and notes attached to donations. "Keep fighting, Rookie," and "Thank you for saving him." Tears welled in my eyes each time I read them. It wasn't just about the money. It was about seeing the kindness of people who believed a stray dog's life was worth saving, that he deserved a chance at happiness. Within a couple of weeks, a miracle happened. The donations not only covered the vet bills, but also gave me a small cushion to find new housing for Rookie and me. We managed to leave the motel and rent a modest ground-floor apartment in a quieter part of town. On the day I finally brought Rookie from the vet to that new place, his tail thumped uncertainly, as though he couldn't quite believe this was real. The apartment was sparsely furnished, but it was clean, safe, and it was ours. The next morning, I woke up to find him standing by the sliding glass door that opened to a tiny patch of a backyard. The sunrise bathed him in a gentle light, illuminating the faint scars on his side. I walked over and knelt down, resting a hand on his head. He looked up at me, his eyes filled with gratitude and a spark of wonder. In that moment, I understood the depth of what we shared. He'd saved me as much as I'd saved him. He gave me purpose, a reason to fight through the darkness of personal struggle, and I'd given him a home, a family. As the weeks turned into months, Rookie regained his strength and spirit. He'd romp around our small yard, tail wagging excitedly at the slightest rustle in the grass. Each bark echoed with vigor, a stark contrast to the fearful whimper I'd once heard in that alley. I enrolled him in a basic obedience class at a local shelter, just to help him learn confidence around other dogs and people. The first few sessions were tense, with Rookie cowering if another dog got too close. But slowly, as he realized he was safe, he began wagging his tail, even stepping forward to sniff and greet new furry friends. The volunteer trainers adored him, calling him a little miracle. But the true miracle was yet to come. One day, I was walking Rookie around a quiet block near our home, a routine we'd established to keep him comfortable with the outside world. Autumn leaves swirled around our feet, the crisp air carrying the faint scent of wood smoke. It was the kind of day that reminds you to appreciate life's simple pleasures. Rookie was happily sniffing a lamppost, tail wagging, when we turned a corner and nearly stumbled upon a small figure hunched against a chain-link fence. It was another dog, thin and disheveled, limping slightly. Immediately, Rookie stiffened. He gazed at this newcomer, ears pricked forward, tail lowering with concern. I saw the dog's eyes, wide with terror. It shrank back, letting out a small growl of warning. My heart lurched in recognition. Those were the same haunted eyes I'd seen in Rookie. This time, though, the roles were reversed. Now I stood with a healthy dog at my side, approaching a stray who looked mere days away from starvation. The air seemed charged with a sense of. I crouched slowly, keeping my voice low, gentle. "Hey there," I murmured. "It's okay." Rookie, sensing my intention, didn't bark or strain on the leash. Instead, he inched forward, wagging his tail in a slow, tentative rhythm. The stray dog gave another low growl, more out of fear than aggression, as it backed against the fence. But then Rookie did something that made my chest tighten with emotion. He dropped to his belly, inching closer with a soft whine as though telling the stray, "I understand. Trust me." Even though tears threatened to blur my vision, I fished a treat from my pocket, a habit I'd developed since Rookie was always so motivated by gentle rewards, and extended it. The stray's nose twitched. Hunger overpowered fear for a moment, and it took a small step forward, snatching the treat from my palm before retreating. I didn't move. I just stayed there, letting the dog see that we meant no harm. Rookie gently rose, still wagging. He sniffed at the ground near the stray, then looked back at me as if waiting for my signal. That silent communication floored me. Rookie, once the most terrified creature I'd known, was now guiding another lost soul toward hope. Eventually, after a few more treats and many reassuring words, the stray allowed me to edge closer. My heart pounded with a mix of compassion and fear, terrified of scaring it away. But bit by bit it let me touch its shoulder, matted fur, dirt caked along the spine, each rib a visible ridge. "Hang on," I breathed softly. A plan was already forming in my mind. I had a few extra leashes at home. We could help this dog just as we'd once been helped by strangers. Gently, I slipped a soft rope from my pocket around the dog's neck, forming a makeshift lead, taking care not to startle it. The dog tensed but didn't resist. Its eyes flicked to Rookie as though seeking reassurance. Rookie gave another small wag. We walked home at a snail's pace, me leading carefully, Rookie trailing behind, watching our new friend. Each step felt like walking a path we traveled before. Only now, I was the one reaching out, offering the miracle that had been given to Rookie. Once inside my modest living room, I spread old towels on the floor, offered a bowl of water and some kibble softened with warm broth. The stray devoured it, trembling with relief. My phone call to the vet was quick. "I found another stray. Seems injured, definitely malnourished. Could I bring him in for a checkup?" The staff, who knew me well by now, said to come by whenever I could. But I wanted to give the dog time to decompress, to show some trust. So for a few hours I sat on the floor, talking softly, letting the dog rest and watching Rookie approach, sniffing with curiosity. The stray gradually stopped trembling, though its eyes remained cautious. When I finally lifted the dog to my car, Rookie hopped in next to it, leaning gently against the seat. There was a moment that made my heart swell. The stray, feeling the security of Rookie's presence, laid its head on Rookie's flank, as if seeking solace. Rookie didn't move away. He just accepted it, his kind eyes on the passing scenery outside. At the vet's office, they discovered the stray had a dislocated shoulder and a minor infection, but nothing life-threatening. It would need rest, medication, and lots of nutrition to regain health. As I listened, I recalled those first grim words about Rookie. Somehow we'd come full circle. After the exam, I led the dog, who I was already calling Charlie, outside with Rookie by our side. Charlie stopped in the parking lot, looked up at me and then at Rookie. In that gaze, I saw the same silent question I'd once seen in Rookie's eyes. Will you stay? Will you be there? Emotion clogged my throat as I knelt down and gently stroked Charlie's neck. Yes, I whispered. I promise. The days that followed felt like, but with an added spark of wonder. Rookie, once the patient, became something of a caretaker in his own canine way, curling next to Charlie, nudging the new arrival to eat, even offering the squeaky toys that once terrified him. Charlie slowly blossomed under the warmth of a secure home, good food, and consistent care. The timid glances softened, replaced by trust. It was as if Rookie was telling him, I've been where you are. You'll make it. And the strange part was, Charlie seemed to listen. Over time, Charlie's injuries healed and so did his spirit. He'd follow Rookie around the yard, chasing leaves, barking at passing cars. On peaceful afternoons, I'd watch them doze in a patch of sunlight, side by side, living proof that miracles can happen in the simplest, quietest moments. Meanwhile, word of Rookie's survival and subsequent rescue of Charlie spread even further. I started getting emails from local rescue organizations, asking if I'd consider being part of awareness campaigns, or if I'd like to speak about the importance of helping stray animals. My initial instinct was to shy away. I was just an ordinary person who happened to hear a dog cry in the night. But each time I thought about it, I realized it wasn't about me. It was about sharing a message of hope, about reminding people that a single act of compassion can change a life, or several lives. So I agreed. Rookie and I, and eventually Charlie, appeared at small local events. We helped raise funds for shelters, spoke to school children about kindness to animals, and posted updates online about their progress. The response was astounding. People found hope in Rookie's story, which was always one breath away from tragedy but had turned into something transformative. A single social media post featuring Rookie and Charlie playing in my backyard garnered thousands of likes and shares. People from across the country, even other countries, sent messages of gratitude, saying how the story inspired them to adopt a stray or volunteer at a shelter. The climax of this journey came on an otherwise ordinary evening. I was sitting on my couch, scrolling through pictures of the two dogs curled up on their new dog bed, reflecting on how far we'd come. The phone rang, and a familiar voice introduced herself. It was Doctor, the veterinarian who had first treated Rookie. She had followed the story of Rookie and Charlie, and she sounded almost breathless with excitement. "You won't believe this," she said. "I've been contacted by a national animal welfare organization. They want to feature Rookie's story as part of a campaign to showcase the resilience of rescue animals. They'd like to invite you and Rookie to a special event in the city. There will be a segment on local news, and they want to talk about your journey with him and Charlie. They're even providing a small grant to help with your ongoing rescue efforts, if you're interested in continuing on this path." I nearly dropped the phone. My mind reeled. A year ago, I was just someone who walked down the wrong alley at the wrong time, except it turned out to be the right alley at the right time. Now, people were seeing in Rookie a symbol of hope and survival. And not just him, Charlie too, and by extension, the entire message that these animals, forgotten by the world, deserve a second chance. The event arrived, and I drove there with Rookie and Charlie in the backseat, both gazing out the window like two best friends on a grand adventure. My heart was hammered with nerves, but as we walked onto a small stage set up in a crowded park, the applause and cheers that greeted us felt surreal. I held the leash, blinking under the bright lights, while a host introduced us. She spoke of the night I found Rookie, the near-fatal fire, the outpouring of community support, and finally, the rescue of Charlie. People in the crowd seemed moved, some teary-eyed, others smiling widely. Standing there, microphone in hand, I told the truth. I never set out to be a hero. I was just a person who heard a dog crying for help. But the real heroes are Rookie and dogs like him, beings who suffered unimaginable hardships, yet still find it in their hearts to trust and love again. They show us that it's never too late for a miracle. At that moment, as if on cue, Rookie let out a single clear bark, tail wagging vigorously. The crowd erupted in laughter and applause. Charlie, who had been timidly hiding behind me, poked his head forward, tail wagging uncertainty. Another round of applause soared. I smiled so wide my cheeks ached. The organization presented a plaque commemorating Rookie's resilience and handed me an envelope containing a grant to continue rescue efforts. I accepted it in awe, feeling simultaneously humbled and inspired. I looked down at Rookie, who was panting happily beside me, and then at Charlie, peeking around my legs. I whispered a silent thank you for that night in the alley, for the cry I could have ignored but didn't. When we got home from the event, exhausted but exhilarated, I collapsed onto the couch, both dogs curling up at my feet. The plaque sat on the coffee table, gleaming under the living room lamp. I thought back to how fragile Rookie's heartbeat had felt against my chest the night I carried him from that alley. In the quiet warmth of our little home, I realized that was the moment my life had changed forever. And in some intangible way, the moment I finally understood what it meant to truly love and be loved in return. Months later, I would sit on the back step watching the sun set behind the houses, my arms draped around Rookie and Charlie as they dozed comfortably. In that stillness, I often found myself marveling at the chain of events. One cry in the night, one decision to turn around, and that single choice led to an outpouring of hope, not just for Rookie and Charlie, but for countless other animals inspired by their story. I'd sometimes catch glimpses of new social media posts, people tagging me with photos of dogs and cats they rescued, saying, "We named our pup after Rookie," or "Charlie's story gave me the courage to adopt this stray in my neighborhood." Each post was a new miracle, spreading like ripples in a pond. And it wasn't just animals that benefited. People confessed that hearing about Rookie's transformation helped them find faith in humanity again, reminded them that compassion still existed in a world that often felt cruel. A firefighter messaged me privately to say that after rescuing Rookie from the fire, he realized he wanted to train with an animal rescue unit to help in future disasters. A retired couple set up a small monthly donation to our local shelter. A young student wrote an essay on the importance of adopting shelter pets, citing Rookie's story as her inspiration. In those moments, I felt the magnitude of what a single act of kindness could ignite. It wasn't about me. It was about the collective power of empathy, the unstoppable force it could become when people decided not to look away. On the nights when worries plagued me, about finances, about the next emergency, about whether I was strong enough to continue helping, I'd look into Rookie's eyes. I'd remember how close we came to losing him on that first night, and again during the fire. Yet he survived with a wag in his tail and love in his heart. If a dog so small and vulnerable could harbor such resilience, then surely I could find the courage to keep going, to keep believing in goodness. As the seasons turned, the memory of that alley receded into the past, though it never lost its significance. Rookie's fur grew thick and glossy, his once flank now a faint reminder of the battles he overcame. Charlie, bounding through the yard, bore little resemblance to the timid stray I found curled by a fence. Occasionally, on walks, we'd encounter another stray dog. Sometimes we couldn't coax it near, but other times we succeeded, offering food and care. Each attempt reminded me that though we couldn't save every animal, every life we did touch mattered immeasurably. Ultimately, the miracle wasn't just that Rookie survived, or that the community behind him, or even that we saved another dog. The true miracle was in the transformation of hearts, mine, Rookie's, Charlie's, and all the people who witnessed our journey. In the simplest sense, it was a story about hope, that no matter how dark and lonely the night, there is always the possibility of light, of kindness, of a hand reaching out, or a paw extended in trust. That night, the sound of a lonely whimper echoed through an alleyway, and I almost kept walking. It would have been easy to do so. I was busy, tired, distracted by my own worries. But something stopped me, something in that dog's cry that demanded I see his pain. And in answering that cry, I found an entire universe of love and compassion I never knew existed. I found a version of myself I could believe in, and I found a reason to believe in the rest of humanity as well. Sometimes I reflect on how many people might have passed that alley without hearing or caring. But I also reflect on how many people, if given the chance, would have done exactly what I did or more. We don't always get to see the empathy and goodness around us because it often goes unsung. But it's there, waiting. One cry in the night is all it takes to awaken it. Now, as the sun finally dips below the horizon in a wash of violet and gold, I stroke Rookie's ears, feeling the softness of the fur that has over scars. Charlie stirs, resting his chin on my knee, and I rub his head in gentle circles. The air is warm, carrying the faint scents of earth and grass. In this hush, I'm struck by how profoundly life has changed since that rainy evening in the alley. Rookie lets out a contented sigh, and I whisper to him, words carried on the breeze, "Thank you for crying out that night. Thank you for not giving up." My voice cracks because I realize I'm talking not just to the dog, but to the part of myself I thought was too busy or too preoccupied to care. I'm thanking that flicker of compassion that lived dormant in me until circumstances forced it awake. And in this quiet moment, I hold on to one simple truth. Miracles aren't always grand or thunderous. Sometimes they're soft as a whisper, as gentle as a scared dog's whimper in a deserted alley, waiting for someone to listen. Sometimes the miracle is found in a single choice, to stop, to see, to help. And from that choice can grow a wave of love that transforms more lives than we ever imagined possible. Rookie's eyes flutter open, and he gives my hand a warm lick. Charlie lumbers closer, jealous for his share of affection. I grin, sinking my fingers into their fur, pulling them both close. This is our world now, bound by the memory of pain, redeemed by the promise of hope. The thought makes my heart swell with gratitude so profound, I can barely contain it. Leaning my head back, I gaze up at the first stars dotting the twilight sky. A contented exhale escapes me. Tomorrow, we'll go for a long walk, maybe visit the local shelter again, see if there's another life that needs saving. Who knows? The future is uncertain, but it's also wide open. And for once in my life, I welcome it with open arms. That's the power of a single cry in the night. A cry that, once answered, can echo into countless hearts, showing that even in the darkest moments, miracles do happen. Rookie's story stands as living proof, a testament to the beauty of compassion when it's given freely, and the profound transformation that takes place when love finds the abandoned, heals the broken, and writes a new ending to a story that once seemed hopeless. And maybe that's what makes this story worth sharing. Not that it's perfect, or glamorous, or free of struggle, but that it reminds us all that the smallest act of kindness can spark a miracle beyond measure. After all, this homeless dog was crying for help, teetering on the brink of despair. And then, against all odds, a miracle happened. And not just one miracle, but 100, unfolding in ripples of hope that continue to this day, reminding us that we too can be the miracle someone else is praying for in the darkness.